Welcome to the Soul Session with Samira Serafini. You landed here for a reason. You're ready to heal your heart, embody authentic confidence, and soften into your feminine energy. It's time to live in true alignment and manifest a blissful life. Let's begin. Hello, my loves. Welcome back to the Soul Session. If you are new here, I'm Samira, and I'm so deeply grateful that you found your way here today. Truly, you landed here for a reason. This week, we are exploring the forces of love that guide the healing field in family constellation therapy. I highly recommend that you listen to the previous episodes about acceptance and order because today's topic builds directly on both of them. Today we are diving into the third force of love, inclusion. So, if you've been feeling emotionally triggered lately, if certain relationships feel heavy, if you notice repeating patterns in love, family, and even inside yourself, this episode is especially for you. Take a deep breath, let your body soften, and let's begin. Inclusion, what it really means. In Family Constellation, Brigitte Champetier de Hibbs teaches that inclusion is the forces that says, from the perspective of unity, everything and everyone has the same right to belong. The movement of this force is the movement of inclusion and respect for differences. In simple words, nothing that exists should be energetically pushed out of the system. When something or someone is excluded, whether in a family, in a relationship, in society, or inside of ourselves, imbalance is created. And that imbalance always looks for a way to be compensated. This is why inclusion is deeply connected to the first two forces of love. The first one, acceptance, saying yes to what it is, order, each one in their right place, and now inclusion, no one left out of the field. When one of these forces is violated, life starts to feel heavy, blocked, repetitive, or confusing. And here I want to bridge this with something very present in the spiritual world, shadow work. Shadow work is nothing more than the inner practice of inclusion. It is the practice of consciously loving, acknowledging, and integrating the parts of ourselves that we learned to reject, to hide, or to judge. Because whatever we exclude inside, we will see a projection of it outside. And whatever we exclude in the system will try to bring it back one way or another. So, the consequences of exclusion. First, let's talk about the consequences of exclusion in the family field. In the family system, the exclusion of any member weakens the entire system. Think of a clock that has one of its wheels missing. This can include aborted children, former partners, family members who were rejected, people who were judged as wrong or the black sheep of the family, those whose destiny was denied, minimized, or silenced. And the risk of exclusion is that anyone that is excluded, forgotten, or judged, the family soul seeks balance. And how does that happen exactly? Through what we call entanglement. A future descendant, often a child or a grandchild, will unconsciously take on the destiny, the suffering, or the pattern of the excluded one. It is an invisible act of love to bring that person back into the field through their own life. Not because something went wrong, but because the system is always moving toward holiness. And this entanglement often shows up as repeating painful love stories, financial struggles, chronic illness, emotional confusion, feeling like you're living someone else's life. All of this can be the system saying someone belongs here and is being forgotten. In the individual field, let's talk a bit about shadow work. Everything that you reject in yourself does not disappear, it is still there. It grows in the shadow until it gets loud enough to be seen. So, what you constantly criticize in others is very often a disowned part of yourself asking for inclusion. For example, the denial of fear can turn into anxiety. The denial of sadness can turn into depression. The denial of anger can turn into self sabotage. The denial of limits can turn into burnout. Because every emotion comes with a biological mission, an emotion only wants to guide the next action and complete its natural cycle. What happens when we block or suppress it is that the energy stays trapped in the system, trapped in your aura. This is what many call spiritual bypassing, which is something like pretending to be positive all the time, avoiding the so called negative emotions, refusing to look at pain, anger, grief, resentment. But what we exclude inside will inevitably meet you outside. Inclusion inside the psychic is mental health, it is emotional maturity, it is freedom. Let's talk about the collective field. And we can see this so clearly in today's world. Political polarization, social polarization, extremes, radical ideologies, culture wars. Energetically, this works like a pendulum. The more extreme it is swing to one side, the more force it gains to swing to the opposite side. Radical exclusion always generates radical opposition. And it is really the challenge of our time to cultivate dialogue, to respect the differences, to seek common ground, to move from reaction to consciousness. Inclusion at the collective level, it's not about agreeing with everything. It's about recognizing the humanity in the other, even when the perspectives are different. Now, when we talk about inclusion in love and relationships, I often tell my clients that every relationship is like a dance. Whatever you bring to the table, your partner will respond in a proportional way. So when you think, I love him, but I can't accept this part of him, like this hobby or one of his parents or something in his past, energetically, that creates a space for him to also reject a part of you. Totally unconscious. In family constellation, it is also essential to honor past partners. Former partners are part of the history. They shaped the person they had. When they are disrespected, judged, or energetically denied, the current relationship often carries unnecessary conflicts, jealousy without concrete reason, emotional distance, and power struggles. And here it is important to notice that inclusion does not mean staying in unhealthy relationships. It does not mean accepting abuse. It does not mean not having boundaries. Inclusion happens on the subtle energetic level. Boundaries happen on the practical human level. So both can and must coexist. Okay? So moving forward, I want to talk about the path of integration. So, how can you practice inclusion in your life, in your heart, in each level? So, inclusion in the family field, in your family system. You do not need to know all the secrets, all the names, or investigate the past. You only need the intention. Close your eyes for a moment, open your heart, and send love to all those in your lineage who were once excluded for any reason. This simple inner movement already restores balance in the field. In the individual field, think of emotions and thoughts as visitors knocking on the door of your house. Some knock gently, some others not. But they just want to be felt. When you open the door, they can come in. They will sit for a moment. They will feel seen. They will take a cup of tea and then they leave. What I mean with this is that suppression keeps them trapped outside forever. What I mean with that is that suppression keeps them trapped into your field. Inclusion allows them to complete their cycle and dissolve. In the collective field, we can practice inclusion when we respect differences. You don't need to adopt and agree with every belief out there, but you can soften your heart towards diversity. And remember that this is not ideological. Inclusion is energetic. Now, for your love and relationships, we can practice inclusion with your partner's family, their parents, their relatives. Maybe there is a person that it is very hard for you to handle. You can set boundaries in the practical human level, but in your heart, you can practice inclusion to soften up the dynamic. You can also practice inclusion with their history, their ex partners, any of their any imperfection that you may think they have. And this is so important because it creates emotional peace, it creates safety and groundedness. So you can grow roots to grow a future together. Now I invite you into a simple yet powerful weekly practice. You can pause the audio and do it with me right now, or you can do it later. But basically, you're going to make a list of 5 people or situations that feel difficult for you right now, one by one. So, what you're going to do with each of them is visualize the person or the situation. Place your hand on your heart and silently say, I include you exactly as you are. And feel how that lands in your energy, in your system. If this person and situation is very hard for you, you can do this a few times this week. So watch what shifts inside of you, what softens in the connection, in the relationship. And if you feel cold, share your experience with me. I would love to hear it. So, inclusion is a form of mature love. It is the force that liberates the individual, brings peace to the family system, softens the polarized conflicts, and brings you back inner balance and peace. And it is important to understand that when you include, you stop fighting reality. And we know that when we fight reality, we are basically leaking energy because there is no results that comes from denying. So when you include, you stop fighting yourself, you stop fighting life, and you return to your center, to holiness. So I invite you to keep your heart open for inclusion in your family, in your relationships, and especially with yourself. If this episode touched something deep inside of you, and if you're ready to look at patterns with love and clarity, I would be honored to support you in a one-on-one soul session. The link is in the description. You can also subscribe to my weekly newsletter to receive reflections and guided practices straight into your inbox. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for choosing to heal. And remember, a woman who restores her heart is healing her lineage. Sending you so much love. Until next time. If you made it to the end of this episode, it means you're truly committed to healing your heart and living in true alignment. I see you, and I'm so proud of you. Make sure to subscribe to the Soul Session so you never miss our weekly time together. And if you enjoy what you heard, please leave a review and share your biggest takeaway. I'd love to hear from you. For exclusive content straight to your inbox, subscribe to my weekly newsletter. And if you're ready to quantum leap into your next level, book a one-on-one session with me. You'll find all links in the description. Thank you for being here, sending you so much love. Until next time.